10 years of losing, and now you're looking at a rebuild.
Well, something's got to change, man. We got a lot to cover today. Rob Browne in Memphis, Brenden Martin in Ocala, Florida. Jordan Davis Hill, 24/7 Sports in Athens, checks in. Big game, Georgia and Alabama. Also, we will have Bill Cameron from ESPN 106.7, the afternoon drive in Auburn. And Bill will talk about Bruce Pearl stepping down and his son going to take over. We'll also talk about ACC going to a 9-game schedule. The SEC's permanent 3. There's a lot to cover. Yancy Porter, Rebel Yell Hotline. Rodney Orr, Tider Insider. Take a picture with your phone of the QR code. Lot to talk about today. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Thank you so much, first of all, more than you know, for sharing your time with us to watch us. And we got the best executive producer on the planet. A lot of great things to come today. And let's
share the show.
Yeah.
Share the show. Hey, you want to do something for this network? It matters. Share and like the show.
Yeah.
If you haven't subscribed to YouTube, just hit the subscribe button. If you're on Twitter, follow us. If you're on Facebook, like us. It helps us. It helps the business. And just, we got to start reminding us, because over 70% of our audience that follows and watches us every day does not like, subscribe, or follow on any social media.
Yeah.
So just know that it helps us. If you watch us, if you're a fan, just hit that button.
It does, and also we're no muzzle on us. We tell it like we see it. Let's get started with Jordan Davis Hill, one of the best and most competent correspondents out there. Covers Georgia, and I guess there's a little excitement in the Classic City over in Athens, Clark County. Big one Saturday night. First off, as always, thanks for sharing your time with us. Paul Wickenheiser always watches you out in Reno, Nevada. The Burgermeister, Jeff Boone, Thomas. I got a lot of dog friends. They're going, Jordan Davis Hill speaks the truth, Brown, so let him talk.
Appreciate that, Rob, and happy to be on with you guys. And, they timed out the schedule well for Georgia. We got a bye week last week, was able to, relax a little bit, still did some work, did some chores, and now we're getting ready for a huge one in Athens, Georgia, Alabama. Happy to hop on and talk with you guys.
Well, and last year we all remember the Georgia game against Alabama in Tuscaloosa was one of the best games in college football last year. Let's fast forward. Here we are a year later. What has Georgia got to do to break the streak? They've lost 9 of the last 10. They won that national championship game in Indianapolis 4 years ago. But here comes Bama again. It's a blackout game. Kind of set the table for us.
Well, I don't know if it's a blackout game. There's been kind of back and forth on if Georgia fans want to wear black. They don't have a great history of black against Alabama. But no, I think this is a golden opportunity, and that's sort of what this conversation is going to be about with Georgia, Alabama. Rob hit on the fact that Georgia, in Kirby Smart's time, the one team he has struggled to beat is Alabama, and we were having this conversation. Georgia has had unprecedented success within the program during the Kirby Smart era. But if you looked at on the field, if there was one, he did all this, but he struggled to beat Alabama. And this is a golden opportunity. This is something, guys, that I'm still kind of struggling to wrap my head around, that when they play on Saturday, that's going to be the first time in a decade that Alabama has played between the hedges. The last time Alabama came to Athens, Kirby Smart was the defensive coordinator. That's just how long and how wonky the SEC schedules have been. So, no, I think that Georgia sees an opportunity while also understanding that it's a really dangerous Alabama team. This is a team that can take advantage if Tennessee, if Georgia's secondary plays like it did against Tennessee, if it allows those explosive plays, if they struggle to slow down Ryan Williams. Kirby on Monday talked a lot about Jeremy Bernard, the very talented receiver that they've used in a manner of ways through this point in the season. So, everybody's excited. Going to be the first night game of the season in Sanford, and it's going to be a huge one. I think you're going to see a packed house, and I think, I'm expecting a one-possession game. I'm expecting 60 minutes of hard-fought football in Athens.
Well, nobody plays a harder full 60 than Kirby in Georgia. That's their mantra. Talking about Gunnar Stockton, again, give credit where it's due, and you have been so good about talking up what Gunnar brings to the table. He's not going to have the best stats and all that stuff. Not the tallest guy, the fastest, the best arm. Kind of like when Roy Firestone was interviewing Wayne Gretzky one time. back when we had really good like Dick Shapp and Firestone. He said, Wayne Gretzky, you are regarded as the greatest hockey player of all time. You're certainly not the biggest, the tallest, the fastest, but why are you the best? He goes, well, I don't go where the puck is going. I go where I think the puck is. I mean, where it is, I go where the puck is going. Kirby's always ahead. And then same thing with Gunnar Stockton. He just finds these guys that are just grit. Talk about Gunnar, Zachariah Branch, Noah Thomas in the receiver room.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a passing offense that showed its potential at Tennessee. And I mean, really, you just look at that 4th and 6 play as the one example of just what this offense is capable of. And fascinated to see how Gunnar Stockton is used in this game. You know, went back and watched Alabama in that week 1 loss to Florida State. And, you know, Thomas Castellanos' ability to move. I mean, Alabama just had no answer. Now, I don't think Gunnar's quite as athletic, but he can move. And if you go back to week 1 when Georgia played Marshall, you saw them running some speed option, running some reads. I want to see if Georgia tries to attack that way. But you look at this passing offense, I mean, Zachariah Branch has been the star. I wrote about him on Tuesday morning, just about how he's come in and fit in. And, you know, Kirby Smart and Gunnar both have raved about his work ethic and just said, look, he's not a me guy. He goes out there and does what is needed for the team. And, you know, they've done a great job of just throwing screens to him, blocking it well, and letting him take off. He's done a good job. You mentioned Noah Thomas. He's kind of the guy that I'm interested in watching. He's been quiet to this point in the season. I think he's only got 3 catches, maybe 4 through 3 games. And, you know, Kirby made the point that, you know, there's been opportunities that just for whatever reason did not come to fruition with Noah, whether it was not protected well on a play, whether it was a penalty elsewhere. I think Noah's still going to play a huge role. But, yeah, I mean, they are – I think they feel really good about the receiving core they have. Having those guys, having London Humphreys, who made that big play in Knoxville, having Colby Young, trying to get the tight ends more involved because those guys have really been used more as blockers.
Yeah.
This passing game's got a lot of this passing offense has a lot of potential. They're going to have to try to maximize it against this Alabama team.
Well, and you think about the touchdown pass that Gunnar made up in Neyland Stadium. That's one nobody else could have caught except his guy. You don't want to be pass happy. You can throw for 400 yards and lose a game. You can't ever lose a game, I don't think, if you rush for 400 yards. Let's talk about the 1, 2, 3 in the running back room.
Well, you know, it was sort of my focus going into that Tennessee game, and I think it's going to be very similar in Alabama, is who runs the ball best. And, you know, it's something I'll be interested when we talk to Kirby tonight to hear an update on Dwight Phillips Jr. He was dealing with a foot injury in the Tennessee game. He left about the third quarter, but by all accounts, he did well during the bye week. I think he'll be ready to go. But having Nate Frazier, who had a really good game against Tennessee, broke about a 21-yard run to open overtime. Dwight Phillips Jr., who I mentioned, Chauncey Bowens, and some of the other guys, Josh McCray, had barely played in the first 2 games. Then he scores 2 touchdowns, including the game winner in the Tennessee game. So they feel really good about their run game. And then you look at the Alabama side of it, kind of the question is Jam Miller going to be back? Now, what I've seen from some of the reports from the Alabama side, sounds like they're expecting Jam Miller back. Watching some of the other backs, going back to that Florida State game, you know, I feel like they've got some power, but I want to see someone who can break one. And I didn't feel like in that Florida State game they really had that ability to have like a 10, 15, 20-yard explosive run. If they can get that, it will be really competitive. But I think Georgia feels good about where its run game is through 3 games. Get Dwight Phillips Jr. healthy, or at least healthy enough to contribute. I think they're sitting pretty going into this one.
All right, so the fact that Georgia hadn't had a 1,000-yard rusher since 2019, that doesn't mean they're not playing good football. Is that more a reflection of kids today don't want the ball 30 or 40 times a game? They want it 12 to 15 because it's gotten to them. The NFL doesn't want you coming in with 60,000 miles on those tires. They want fresh bodies.
I think more than anything, it's more of the coaches understanding, especially during the regular season. You know, if you're Georgia, a lot of the time you go into a season, there's that in the back of your mind that we may be playing 15 games. You know, we may make a run. We have a team capable of going and making a playoff run, and we want to try to keep those guys healthy as we can. I think it's more of that. But 2, I mean, and not every team can say this. Georgia is, very lucky to be in this spot, but I mean, they are really deep at running back. I mean, we've talked about, I think they got like 7 scholarship running backs, and a lot of those guys, I think, if they got put in a pinch and we got to play the 5th or 6th guy, I think they'd be just fine. There may be a little bit of a drop off, but it's still reliable running back. So I think that's more of, how Georgia has gone about it, understanding, when you're playing games in late September, early October, you could be playing, well into January. You want to try to not wear those guys out early in the season. And, Kirby knows as much as anybody how tiring and how much it takes to play SEC football every Saturday. I think that's more of a product of the coaches trying to be smart about usage, understanding they got a long season ahead.
All right, one more, and then I want to get you to talk about Bruce Pearl. Georgia's defense gave up 41. I'm sure Kirby and Glenn Schumann and the coaches have just been up all night. What do you think they're going to do different against Alabama?
Well, the thing that's interesting, and Kirby talked about this not only after that game, but even the days after, is like, they don't come out of that Tennessee game feeling like, well, we got to just totally flip how we play the ball in the air. He said, you just got to go make a play. And you saw that in those explosive plays. I mean, the first one that Chris Brazzell caught for a touchdown, Ellis Robinson gets beat off the jump, off the snap, is chasing the ball down, trying to chase after the receiver. The ball's underthrown, so the receiver stops, and Ellis just runs right into him, just never saw the ball. Later in the game, I think that's the third quarter, Daniel Harris looked like he was in a really good position to make a pick, and Brazzell goes up and just catches it over him. So, it's not like technique was the issue and that, these guys don't know what they're doing. It's just, Kirby said this best when he was asked about it a couple of days later. He said, it's not like these guys aren't making these plays in practice. We see it all the time, but when they had to go make a play, they didn't make a play. So it's just, I think, going to be a situation where they're going to trust these guys to get it right. Some of these guys are playing their most snaps since they got to Georgia and playing at this level. Didn't go well against Tennessee, but Georgia did get the last laugh. But you play Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard and these receivers that Alabama has, you can't make those same mistakes and think you're going to be on the right end of the scoreboard at the end of the night.
Yeah, and it's going to be just a great game. We'll all be watching it. Talk about Bruce Pearl. You got a chance to cover him and kind of caught people by surprise, maybe other than his own family yesterday, that he's retiring.
Yeah, Bruce is one of my favorite coaches to have ever covered. I was on the basketball beat, I think, just for one season, but I kind of was at the Opelika Auburn News and covered some other basketball on the way. And I don't know that I've ever covered a coach that was so media friendly. Mm-hmm. And I give him a lot of credit. Like when I first started covering basketball, I think I've learned a lot since then. And I'm sure I asked plenty of dumb questions along the way. But Bruce was not the kind of coach that would tell you that was a stupid question. He would run with you and he would help you and help you save face. But what he did at Auburn, just outstanding. And I was listening to some conversations from some friends talking about what he meant to Auburn, and that he's got the argument of being the greatest Auburn coach, the most successful Auburn coach in any sport. So I wish him well in retirement. It was fun getting to cover him and watch Auburn in my time on the beat. And I really think Stephen Pearl is going to do a really good job. I think he's a guy that I go back to when Georgia fired Tom Crean. I just made a list of guys that I would contact. Stephen Pearl was on my list. Yeah. And I know a lot of people are kind of tied up on the timing and, he's promoting his son. I really do think Stephen Pearl's ready for this job. I think he's going to do a very good job. And if other people in the SEC are thinking they're going to catch a break because Bruce isn't coaching, I got a bad feeling they're in for a surprise.
Yeah, and you're right. And, hey, Fred Smith, retired, and he's unfortunately passed away this summer, the founder and CEO of FedEx. And looks like Richard Smith is going to move into that spot. But, boy, they've made him earn that. And that's what I think is going on with Stephen. Jordan, you're one of the best. You've got a great podcast. Talk about what you're going to say on the Junkyard Dog podcast and how people can follow you. Because, folks, if you follow the dogs, you don't get once a day. You get every 20 minutes. Something's coming from Jordan and his team, and it's really worth watching.
I appreciate that. Dogs247.com on Twitter, at Jordan Davis Hill on Twitter, at Dogs247. Junkyard Dogcast, we're going to record a podcast live at 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central. Fun week, ready to get this thing going. But I will say I appreciate y'all making me the opening act for Bill Cameron. Once I get off here, I'm gonna hang on and listen. I love Bill. Excited to hear what Bill's got to say.
Well, say hi to him. Bill is my mentor. Since I was in high school, Bill has been my mentor. And Bill, come on in here, ESPN 106.7, the afternoon drive in Auburn. And Bill, we needed to play Elmer's tune as we brought you in from.
That's a blast. There's a blast from the past. Yeah. Hey,
WAUD.
Jordan, how you doing?
Doing great. Great to see you, Bill.
Yeah, likewise.
Bill, it was kind of fortuitous that I called you on the way into Memphis yesterday and said, hey, can you jump on? And yesterday afternoon, and Jordan and I, we all were caught by surprise. My first reaction was, is this AI? Kind of the old Ella Fitzgerald. Is it live or is it Memorex? Talk about what that was like yesterday when he made that announcement.
Well, I mean, I can't say that it was 100% surprise because, I mean, there've been a lot of signs pointing to it. I mean, Bruce has been talking about the fact that he wasn't going to coach forever, didn't want to be coaching when he was 70, and he's 65 now. Yeah. And then, you had that report, I guess it was about 10 days ago, where Bruce said he'd make a decision by the end of the month. And since yesterday was the first day of basketball practice, it sort of makes sense. I mean, one of the things everybody had been wondering, was he going to run for office, but he said, he said yesterday he thought and prayed long about it, but he's got grandkids now. I think, one of the things we were talking about yesterday is you look at the legendary coaches in all sports over the last few years with the changing of the face of college athletics, with the transfer portal, the way you have to deal with everything now. Yeah. It's so much different than it's ever been before. So I think Bruce just felt like it's time now. Auburn, the people have to be thrilled that he's going to be hanging around, though, and he's going to be, he'll still be an ambassador. I thought it was cool when he said, he's decided he's going to be a senator for Auburn.
Mm-hmm. I heard that yesterday. And what I think was really neat was his son, he walked on at Tennessee, Stephen, and then I saw someone said he was in medical device sales in 2017.
Yeah. So
what? He knows how to sell. If you can sell medical devices, you can sell anything, and he can sell Auburn to recruits. Bill, what he did with basketball, Sonny Smith, when I was there, it was great. And for 5 years in a row, we went to the NCAA tournament every year. Bruce Pearl got to 2 Final Fours, didn't close the deal. And one of his prodigies, my executive producer, Brenden Martin, and his father owned Gator Bait Media down in Gainesville. And Buddy's still, it's awesome because I hope Buddy retires at 100. I mean, the great sports writers tell the great stories. You knew Todd Golden when he was there at Auburn under Bruce Pearl. And look, Bruce's coaching tree is pretty wide too, isn't it?
Yeah, and Todd and Steven are like brothers. I mean, they're so close. They constantly they're in contact all the time. Steven's a guy that's what people were wondering. Well, is the talent level going to fall off? I sort of doubt it. Steven's been the guy in charge of the transfer portal. He's a dynamite recruiter. So this is it's going to be really interesting. I mean, because you already had a team that's basically brand new with the exception of one player in Tahad Pettiford, and now now you've got a different head coach. But the carryover, the transition should be pretty easy because the rest of the staff is the same, and I'm expecting Steven to do the same thing that his dad had done, and that's sort of promote from within. We will see. Auburn had brought in a GM who was not an on-court coach. He could be moved up. Marquise Daniels could be moved up. So I think it'll be the same coaches working with the players. I know yesterday was an odd day because the timing was a little bit off. You could tell from the 14-minute video that was produced, plus the little epilogue there at the end, that was sort of planned to come out. And then the word got out before Bruce had a chance to talk to his players. And I know that's something that they didn't want. But, boy, these days, if you do something like that, so many people are involved. Just think of everybody in the family, whoever was involved in the production of the video. Word's going to get out, and it's really hard. It's really hard to top that. So I'm sure they would have liked the timing to be a little different than it was yesterday, but it was going to come out yesterday anyway. And now we're going to see if things look different. It'll be interesting to see, because Steven's been the defensive coordinator. Mike Burgomaster's been the offensive coordinator. I would expect things to look the same, but it doesn't mean they'll be exactly the way they were with Bruce.
Yeah. All the Bill, Brenden Martin, I everything we hear or talk to our Auburn people is that this was the right time for Steven. This was the moment. So you gotta be. I think if you're an Auburn fan, you got to be psyched about that, because it's a plan, and it seems to be. Right. I like that. I think that's a good fit. Bruce Pearl's got such an amazing. I've known so many people with my dad and everything else, and he's one of the constant gentlemen. You always hear great things about Bruce Pearl, so we wish him well and whatever he does in the future. My question to you is that how do you think this affects the current SEC basketball? I guess what we're seeing in SEC basketball, sort of the dominance last year, the Gators playing unbelievable basketball, having another squad this year with Todd Golden. How does this? Do you think this shakes up the SEC much, or you just think we're getting much of the same with his dad's regime?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Brenden, the talent that there is and the coaches there are in this league is just phenomenal. I mean, it is crazy when you look at it. Auburn's a team, like I said, they've got so many new faces. With DeHod Pettiford being the only returnee from this past year. It is tough, and that's probably part of it as well. I mean, the grind that there is in this league, you've got to, you can't relax, you can't take it easy against anybody at home or on the road. I mean, Auburn's going to be, Auburn's a top 20 team. I don't think there's any question about it, but you don't know how high their ceiling can be, or how long it's going to take for these guys to really blend together. Chemistry is a huge factor, and that's been one of the things that Bruce has been so good at, is finding guys that fit with what he wants to do, and guys that aren't as concerned with their numbers as they are with the team. So we'll see if Steven can continue that. But I expect this league. I mean, there's so many teams battling to finish in the upper half, and if you finish near the upper half, you're going to be a pretty high seed generally in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. Next question is, we went to the permanent 3, and that's going to be up for review every 4 years. And selfishly, I was hoping Auburn's 3rd would. Obviously, I knew that Auburn would be playing Alabama and Georgia. I wanted Florida, because Bill, you and I, you're from Flomaton. I wanted the damn Gator game selfishly, because getting your name in the papers, in the media, in the state of Florida, Auburn over the years has built its foundation from Alabama and then Georgia and then Florida. And it's a very important rivalry, and they chose Vanderbilt. Your thoughts on that?
When I first heard that, I was a little surprised, but you look, and what one of the things that I'd try to do when the conference first went to 16, I was a big proponent of 9 conference games, and I felt the fairest thing to do is try to have everyone have as balanced a schedule as possible. Interesting, they're not going to call these permanent opponents; they're just going to call them annual opponents and review them every 4 years. But what I did a few years ago when Texas and Oklahoma were announced that they were added to the league, I looked back over the last 10 years and tried to come up with teams that would fit as far as rivals, if possible, or teams that you'd played a lot. I thought Mississippi State was a really good fit for Auburn, because Auburn's actually played Mississippi State the second most of any team. They're only behind Georgia as far as the number of games that they've played. But I think but the way it works out is, if you're an upper half team, it felt like if you're in the top 8 over the last decade, and we really don't know what length of time the SEC is looking at these to sort of base these on. But if you're in the upper half, I figured you'd play two other teams that were in the upper half and one in the lower half. If you're in the lower half, you'd play two in the lower half and one in the upper half. And that's sort of the way it worked out there for Auburn. Now, I don't know that everybody got that. I really felt Alabama as a team that has been right there at the top. They and Georgia are the best teams over the last decade. Would be playing a little bit tougher opponent. I mean, I guess it makes sense that Alabama's third is Mississippi State since they're just 90 miles away, but it still ends up being pretty balanced. I understand there are a lot of Auburn people, that said, they understood Auburn wasn't going to be able to get Tennessee because of Tennessee's natural or, ongoing rivals. But I think you're not alone, Rob. A lot of folks would have loved to have brought back Florida, but it's crazy. We've been talking about Bruce Pearl, the fans that have grown up and, are used to seeing Auburn basketball contend are the same folks that have no idea that Auburn and Florida had a big rivalry because it's been so long since they've been playing on a yearly basis.
Yeah, and of course I miss Georgia Tech too. I go to Atlanta a lot to see our oldest daughter, Mallory, that went to Alabama. She's still a good person. But got to say, Bill, you've been doing this. There's Kirk McNair, there's Philip Marshall, and there's you. You really are the patriarchs of journalism, and you're the patriarch of radio in Alabama. You do a great show every day from 4 to 6, ESPN 106.7, The Afternoon Drive in Auburn with Dan, and it's a great crew. We talked yesterday about the mugging out in Norman. As Coach Dye would say, football's a 60-minute game. Don't let the man in the stripes determine the outcome. Sometimes he does wear a helmet.
Yeah. Now, I mean, the thing is, I thought Hugh Freeze was spot on yesterday when he pointed out, in spite of all that, Auburn still had chances to win the ball game. I mean, like he said, there were quite a few plays that he sent off to the SEC office, but there's nothing you can do about that. What you've got to do is just suck it up. I mean, Auburn made so many other mistakes, 13 penalties. Special teams were just awful. And yet they still had opportunities. So they can make a stop. Of course, if we knew consistently what a catch was, maybe they would have been able to. But I mean, they still had opportunities. And there are a couple of passes that Jackson Arnold would love to have back. That even in spite of all the penalties, all the special teams mistakes, all the questionable calls, they still could have won. So I mean, I think you can look at a lot of positives coming out of that. But the thing is, I am positive they need to win at least one of these next two ball games.
Yeah, just to right the ship and the mental part of it. Hugh Freeze looked like he was really into that game. He has looked like Doug Weiner the first couple of years, but he had a roster that he had. I might have felt that way too. I mean, if you put me in a cooking competition against Gordon Ramsay and Wolfgang Puck, and you made me go to the cheap grocery store, and they got to go to Fresh Market. All right, Bill, looking at the 9-game SEC schedule, and Brenden referenced before we came on the air, ACC is now going to 9 games. And dadgummit, Pete Cordelli was on yesterday, and he coached with Holtz for a long time, said that Miami team that beat Florida Saturday looked like the Blades brothers were out there, and Michael Irvin and all. As soon as we think that the SEC is the king, look around us. There's movement in the aisles, as Jack Crystal would say. How strong or how smart is it to go to 9 games? And are there going to be some coaches that are going to hurt? Because, who is it that said, is it Tony Barnhart? One of our guests said all the coaches can count to 6. That's bowl eligibility.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that there is some not just angst. There's some real concern from playing the 9-game conference schedule. But look, with a 12 or a 16 team playoff, then that is reason enough to go ahead and go to 9. Look, let's face it, there aren't going to be many perfect seasons anymore. The leagues, the transfer portal, the ability for teams to be able to quickly turn their teams and programs around are going to make it really, really tough to do that. So I think we're just going to have to get used to the fact that a 3-loss team is very likely going to be in the playoffs and have a chance to go deep, if not win it all.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And They also, again, every 4 years, they're going to review ththese permanent opponents. And
Right.
we talk about cycles.
You still, the thing is, regardless, you're still going to get to play everybody twice in 4 years. You're going to get to go to every opponent's home field. You'll get to host everybody in 4 years. It's been crazy the way we've had it, where you go almost a decade between Auburn and Florida, between Alabama and Georgia went forever without playing. So this is the fairest. I mean, some teams are going to get breaks over a 4-year period, but it won't be much of a break. It won't be nearly the break that we've seen with some schools over the last 20 years.
Yeah, and I think the last time Florida played in Auburn was 2011.
Yeah.
And the last time Auburn played in Gainesville was 2019. Remember, I'm trying to think of the running back for Florida was from Theodore, Alabama. And remember, Kenny Britt from Oxford, Alabama, hit him at the 12-yard line, but didn't lock up, and he bounced out P. Ryan, and he went out to the right and went 88 yards. And it was, that was a kid who drove to Gainesville, and McElwain saw him at like a track meet or something and invited him to come out, and ended up being a pretty good football player. Bill, before you go, you look at this SEC race, top to bottom. I like to ask you this: 1 through 16. SEC stronger this year than last year? Is there even any question about it?
I think it's deeper. I think there are more teams in the top 10 that could. I think just about anybody in the top 10 in the league could beat anybody else. Depending on the game they have. I don't know that there's any team that thus far you look at and go, wow, this is an unbeatable team. I mean, I think Georgia obviously showed an awful lot in that win against Tennessee and Knoxville. But I think Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, still think Texas is pretty good. But Oklahoma's pretty darn good. They may be better than some folks had thought. LSU, obviously, but there are questions about every team. I think we still don't know. It's still so early. We're we're a third of the way into the season, and we're barely getting into conference play. I don't know that there's going to be anybody who goes unbeaten in conference this year. I think you may see at least 1 2-loss team in the SEC title game. So I think it's that deep. But I think there are also going to be some losses, and that's where you get some of the gnashing of the teeth when you're talking about a 9-game conference schedule as well.
Yeah, and again, the SEC did it. Now the ACC is doing it. So everybody in the Power Four is going to have that big schedule. Bill, how do people follow you and keep up? Again, tell them about your great show you do every day, and then you're on radio with Wimp, and you're all over the place.
Yeah, it's the drive every afternoon, 4 to 6 on ESPN 106.7 here in Auburn. You can catch us online live. Love to hear from folks. It's great when we hear from folks in odd places. Check us online. It's you can go to espnau.com or go to radioalabama.net. Podcasts are available there as well.
Well, you've got some of the best callers, and I've turned people on all over the country to the show. And God rest the shadow. I don't know where he is, but Yellowhammer, you've got some of the absolute best. But Bill, thank you so much, and we're going to have to do this again soon. This is a guy that got a 1,600 on the SAT, turned down Stanford to go to Auburn. Very smart.
That means there's a lot of difference in smart and sense, is what you can tell.
Bill, take care. Have a great day.
All right, guys.
All right. Hey, Brenden, I want to ask you, Yancy's coming in, and we'll just start with Yancy. Rebel Yell Hotline, folks. Monday nights at 6 o'clock, when you're sitting down for dinner, supper, whatever you call it, get your radio, your app, listen to Rebel Yell Hotline. It is a great show. Sports 56 WHBQ in Memphis, Super Talk, Mississippi. It's an hour of power. Yancy, how you doing?
Great, my man. How about you?
Good. Got a game this weekend, kind of a rivalry, man. Holy shnikes. And we got a little flair coming in here right now.
Well, this is just Lane Kiffin. I wanted Yancy to speak to the fact that Lane Kiffin's daughter is on Twitter posting with her LSU boyfriend. I don't know. I mean, look, is everything okay in Oxford? I mean, what's happening?
Yeah, it's not the first time that a woman has fallen for a star middle linebacker, is it? You
He's
know,
got
it's
a
just
mustache
the name of
too.
the game, a little spice to the punch, I guess.
I mean, I guess it runs in the family. I guess he's got a little country blood. And this guy's got a mustache. I mean, they all look like a country singer now.
Yeah, they're all from Watkinsville, Georgia, man, right outside of Athens. Three brothers. They do look like a country band, Yancy. They might be. But, getting to this game, holy shnikes, man. It's gonna be a day game. It's a day game in Oxford usually.
What a shame.
Yeah,
what a shame.
Golly, there's nothing better than night football in the South. And after being at the Arkansas-Memphis game last week, 11 a.m. kickoff, that's cruelty. I mean, it was disgusting. It was so hot, and they're selling $2 water. Hey, I'm gonna tell you what. When you stop sweating, that's when you're in trouble. But Yancy, let's talk about the matchups and what you see happening on game day at the 2:30 air fryer start.
Yeah, it's going to be strengths against weaknesses on both sides of the ball. I think you got Ole Miss that is getting having trouble, getting to the quarterback. That they get to the edges, but they over pursue the ball. LSU has the offensive line is struggling, and then on the other side of the ball, LSU struggling to run the ball, and Ole Miss is struggling to stop the run. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. I said this year that there are no perfect teams, nowhere near it. Everybody has holes, as you say, and it's which coaching staff can hide their holes the best is going to come out on top at the end of this season.
Yeah, and talk about the LSU defense. Thank goodness LSU has a defense like this because their offense, they've played 4 games. I mean, they're 4-0. We all know that. But they've yet to be in a track meet with a team that can score like Ole Miss can. What scares me, if I'm just Joe Sixpack in Platt, Nebraska, watching the game with no dog in the hunt, is Trinidad Chambliss comes in against Arkansas and looks the way he did. And then you easily put Tulane away. John Summerall's a hot coach, and he may be coaching at Arkansas next year for all we know. But let's talk about
Kentucky.
Yeah, or Kentucky. Yeah, because he played at Kentucky.
He's coached there 2 or 3 times. His roots are Kentucky, and if I were a betting man, I would bet that he's right there in that season. But Trinidad is he's come in and revived the offense, so to speak. For a Lane Kiffin offense to really truly be dynamic, you got to have a quarterback that can run the ball. You got to have the RPO threat. And, Simmons just doesn't have enough reps right now. You got to remember, he skipped his junior year and senior year of high school. He played his sophomore year. Then he sat 2 seasons behind Dart. So he just doesn't have any reps. Is he going to be dynamic? Yeah, I think Simmons is going to be a dynamic quarterback and much more upside in the end than Trinidad. But Trinidad's just ready now, and Simmons isn't. So, that's the problem that you have. How do you get Simmons the snaps to get him to that level? Because it's going to take a year or 2 of snaps for him to play to the level he needs to play at. So, but he's hurt right now. And so that's really a mute question because Simmons is nowhere near 100%. He really messed that ankle up against Kentucky, then re-aggravated it against Arkansas when he came in. And, this is Trinidad's team for now, and he's playing lights out. He's playing at a very high level, and he can run that RPO offense as good as anybody we've seen under Kiffin.
Yeah, the Chambliss, thank goodness you've got him. But that's the one thing about Kiffin. He's always going to have 2 or 3 quarterbacks. He's able to keep them from transferring away. And that's not nothing, as they say in Hattiesburg, the humidity capital of the world. That's a big deal.
Yeah, he's going to have quarterbacks and he's going to have wide receivers. It doesn't matter where he is or what team he's coaching. You can always count on there being a lot of receivers and a lot of quarterbacks in his system.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the receiver room. How do you attack LSU? LSU seems to be doing it all right, but really it's the linebacking cores with the Weeks brothers and Harold Perkins Jr. And I think Harold Perkins has been there now 4 years. He's never complained. He's never bitched and moaned. He is bought into the LSU culture. There's a lot of leadership, veteran leadership on LSU's team. But one thing Lane Kiffin's great at, probably his greatest attribute, is attacking the heart of an opponent's defense.
Yeah, but LSU did a really, really good job in the portal. They did a 180, and they got, as Lane said, the three most expensive defensive backs in the portal.
Yeah.
The three most expensive defensive linemen in the portal, and all those guys are starting for them, and they're good. The Halsey kid at safety is probably playing at a higher level than anybody else in the country right now in the defensive backfield. He's playing really, really lights out right now. LSU's defense has taken about 3 steps forward this season, if not more. They're nothing like they've been the last 3 or 4 years. This is the old school LSU defense. They really hit you hard, and they're very athletic. And DBU is back at LSU.
Yeah. And look, you cannot make gumbo in the South without crab claws, bay leaves, sausage, chicken, and duck meat. This show thrives on bringing correspondents and reporters that cover the different schools. That's what makes it so much fun. One of the best, again, like Rodney Orr, Tighter Insider. It's only $48 a year, people. You know what? Cost is only an issue in the absence of any added value. The forums, the updates, the experience, the integrity that Rodney Orr brings, just like Yancy Porter does, it's unmatched anywhere. Rodney, good morning. Thank you for joining us. You're driving along McFarland Boulevard, possibly in Tuscaloosa. It's game week, heading to Athens. What's the temperature in Tuscaloosa with this team getting back into serious competition?
Well, I think there's still a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, people are waiting for. We saw the Florida State game. We saw Alabama bounce, obviously, against ULM, but it's ULM. So the next week, they take a step against Wisconsin. And I think, what is this team going to be? So, Rob, I mean, I have not spoken to anyone that, that I trust that can really answer the questions about this football team. How are they going to show up in Athens, Georgia? And, you think about the games that they've had on the road here, and Kalen DeBoer's teams have really not responded well to adversity on the road. And you're talking about a Georgia program that's won 33 games in a row at home. It's going to be an incredible atmosphere. We know that. It's going to be a real challenge for Alabama to respond, but they're going to have to respond in a very positive way to even have a chance in this game.
All right, talk about the running back room, health update, injuries, and all that.
Well, I think, off the top of my head, most guys should be back, at least to some extent. I think, Jam should be back, Jam Miller at running back. I think Jaden Roberts will be, he's obviously closer to being 100%. And he may have been 100% last week, but, he played with Gino Vandermark at right guard. And Gino also played some at left guard. Now, that was against Wisconsin. So when you look on the defensive side, Tim Keenan, who's been out, just like Jam Miller at running back, he's been out since the season started with an injury they suffered.
Yeah.
In all.
Yeah, and Yancy, he's talking about injuries and all, and this, here we are, late September. Dave Bartu, College Football Matrix, is on with us every week, talks about buys. And coming off a bye in September, you win 51% of the time. But when both teams, Georgia and Alabama in this case, are coming off of a bye, it's a moot point. Kind of pick up, we lost Rodney, but pick up along with what he was saying, your interpretation.
Well, I think with Alabama, it's probably when you see Wisconsin get handled like they did last week, that takes a little of the punch you had from the week before, the momentum. You start questioning, like, well, was Wisconsin just not a very good team? So that probably has a little carry over to this week with the fan base. But look, Alabama's played at a very high level since they got beat by Florida State. They've been as dominant as any team out there in the country. We all know the talent level there. They're one of the two most talented rosters per star power in the country. So it's going to be a heck of a fight. I mean, if there's been one thing that Kirby's had trouble with during his coaching career, it's Alabama, no matter who the coach is. So there's a lot at stake. I think that, it's going to be one of those old school knockout dragouts. I really do. I think it's going to be a classic game.
Yeah, just because it's Georgia and Alabama. Rodney, come back in. We lost you for a moment.
Yeah, I was just saying that Tim Keenan is back now. He plays Rob Yancy. I don't know. Again, he had.
Well, Yancy. But the thing about this is injuries are going to hit you. They're going to hit anybody. But yeah, it's the 9 of the last 10 that Alabama has beaten Georgia. But I think what Rodney was saying is right. You're going on the road. Kalen DeBoer's teams have struggled on the road, and you're going in. This is your 4th game of the season. You're coming off a bye again, like Georgia is. This game is. I think it will be a shootout. Georgia's defense is not a lockdown defense like Kirby likes to have. We saw that up in Knoxville, but they did find a way to get a win, 44-41. Yancy, hopefully Rodney can jump back in, but getting back on this LSU game, it's a day game. It's always a night game in Baton Rouge. It seems like it always is. But 2 years ago, that shootout in 23 at Vaught Hemingway between LSU and Ole Miss, that was a hell of a game, and we all remember it. You see a similar game or a lower scoring game just because LSU's defense is so good. My question that I'm getting at is LSU's yet to be in a track meet. Can they go toe to toe? Nussmeier's a hell of a quarterback, but they hadn't done it in 4 games. Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, Rodney, we got
Rob,
you
I think
now.
we're having all kinds of problems, buddy.
Yeah, we got gremlins, but we'll work through it. When you're going through heck, you just keep persevering because otherwise you'll stay there. But,
I've changed locations. Maybe that'll help. I don't know.
It is. It's better now. We got a better signal. Yeah. So Rodney, Yancy was just talking about, and we'll get back to that question. If LSU has to get into a track meet, can they go toe for toe with someone? They hadn't had to do it yet. The road game problems for Alabama. Nick Saban, he was a unicorn. Come on, we have to admit it. It didn't matter where they played, and they could play on Mars and they'd win. But what's different about Alabama this year? They really on the road going to Florida State. It didn't work out well, but you've got a quarterback who never quit trying in Ty Simpson, and he's completed close to 80% of his passes since that. Granted, it's against 2 teams that they clearly were better than.
No, yeah, I said the same thing. If there was anything you noticed in that Florida State game, that Ty Simpson continued to battle, even though there were times you could look in his eyes and it looked like, he was a deer in headlights. There were a couple of times. You just have to say it. That's what it appeared to be. He appeared to be overwhelmed at times, but he kept battling. He fought through it. And, Rob and Yancy, he's 41 of 46 in these last 2 games for over 600 yards, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. So he's responded extremely well. And listen, that's one of the keys to Alabama's chances going into this Georgia game is, can Ty continue to play at that high level? They need him to. Actually, there's a lot of this game riding on Ty Simpson. He's going to have to be productive. The Alabama running game has not been there. They're averaging 123 yards a game rushing. It's not been there. Jam Miller's coming back. Maybe that helps. Maybe the offensive line finally starts performing with some consistency in the run game. We'll see. But Ty Simpson, he's one of the Rob and Yancy, I would say he's one of the top 2 or 3 keys in this game for Alabama.
Yeah,
Well,
and it's
when you have a quarterback that is not an RPO type quarterback, right? It puts a lot of pressure on that running game because, as we all know, when you have a dynamic quarterback that can run the ball, it covers a lot of weaknesses on the offensive line, and that's really why it's really hard for Lane Kiffin's type offense to be all it can be when you don't have a quarterback that's a runner. And we know Ty's not a runner. He's a drop back passer. Can he escape pressure? Of course he can. But he's not a guy that is going to want to run the ball, 15, 18 times a game. And, so those offensive linemen have to hold their blocks because you don't have to count for the quarterback. So, it's different. It's different than what Alabama's had back there at quarterback the last couple of years. And that offensive line will have to block their tail off.
Yeah, and Rodney, look, thinking about that, and you see Justice Haynes at Michigan going off on TV, and that's not fun. Trying to keep a deep running back room around in the age of the portal is next to impossible, if not impossible. Ahmad Hardy, boy, Missouri won the sweepstakes on that. They got a 1-2 punch with him and Roberts that is scary. And of course, Alabama's later got to go up there and play at Missouri October 11th. So, Rodney, talk about the Alabama receivers. Ryan Williams, people say, oh, he's not having a great year. Well, you've got Wilkie Bernard. You've got a lot of talent there. You can't double team both of them.
The Alabama's deep at wide receiver, with Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, Isaiah Horton, the transfer from Miami.
Yep.
Latsier Brooks has really come on, the true freshman. He's very dynamic. And then also Rico Scott. So you've got a really dynamic core there that I think can be very difficult. They can challenge. They can challenge the Georgia secondary. Listen, if they give Ty Simpson time, if they protect Ty Simpson, and Ty makes the throws that he's been making the last couple of weeks. We saw what Joey Aguilar did to the Georgia secondary.
Yeah.
I mean, he lit them up. He had 371 yards passing. I think it was 4 touchdowns. They had a lot of explosive plays. They had 2 plays over 50 yards. One was 72, I think it was. But they had a big game. Chris Brazzell, the receiver, had 6 catches for 177 yards in that game. So I think if you can protect the quarterback, there's going to be opportunities for explosive plays against this Georgia defense. But I also think this too now. Go back and look at what Tennessee did running the football. They ran it enough to keep Kirby's defense on its heels. I mean, they ran for 175 yards, I think it was. So can Alabama muster up, 125 yards rushing? I think they have to be able to run the football, and they have to be able to slow down the run. You're probably not going to stop the run. Georgia averages over 200 yards a game rushing, had 196 against Tennessee. I just don't know that you're going to be able to slow that down. But I would say that was the one thing that I'm going to be curious about, Rob and Yancy, is going over there, handling that environment, and then also Georgia's physicality.
Yeah.
Kirby's gotten back to running the football, it appears to me. Now, again, I haven't seen them a lot. I saw them 3 quarters maybe against Tennessee. But they got back to running that football. And that builds a mental toughness that they have. Yeah. And you know what? We're gonna find out a lot about this Alabama team, I think, in Saturday night. We're gonna find out about the direction.
And why can Georgia run the ball now? Because they got Stetson Bennett. He can run that ball, right? So they didn't have that the last two or 3 years with the prior quarterback that's now at Miami. So
you're about Gunner.
Do I now? Excuse me, Stetson Gunner Stockton. Good gosh, yes.
Stetson Gunner Stockton Bennett the fourth. There we go. That's a new player.
Yeah.
I'm messing with you.
No, but it's that dynamic. It just brings a different flavor to the offense when you have a quarterback that you have to count for in the run
There's
game.
No doubt.
It's really hard to cover everybody when that quarterback can take off with the ball. And so Georgia is now dynamic that they haven't been in the last, 2 or 3 years. So,
well, that's a great point, Yancy. That's another key right there is, and we've talked about this the last couple of weeks looking at this game, is, Gunner Stockton on 3rd down, it's 3rd and 5. He's got the ability to pull it down and just kill you. It just guts you when a guy can run for 6-7 yards, get the first down, whatever. I mean, Gunnar Stockton has that ability. And you look at him and again, I thought he was one of the bigger questions on Georgia's team coming in, and he responded extremely well. Showed a lot of moxie at Tennessee, over 300 yards, I think it was. Had that 4th and 6 throw for the touchdown. They go for 2, they get it. All of those things. But I think Gunnar Stockton lived up to the moment. And guess what, man? You think back to when he came in that game against Texas in the SEC championship game.
Yeah.
I mean, he did just enough. He did what he had to do. He didn't get them beat. He helped them win the game. So, the guys obviously got a lot of moxie, man.
Yeah, he's tough, and you just love a guy like that you'd want in a fight to be on your side. And his players, I think his teammates love him. Real quick before we go, about out of time, 30 seconds or less. Start with Yancy. Are you happy with what it appears to be Ole Miss's 3 permanent or annual opponents until they do the 4-year review 4 years from now?
Yeah, I mean, as long as they keep Mississippi State and LSU, that was big. Personally, I'd love to see them a third been Alabama or Tennessee as the third team. But Oklahoma, there's no issue between the two schools, but nothing's going to be perfect.
No, Rodney.
No, I think so. I mean, obviously, it was going to be Auburn, Tennessee, and would it be LSU or Mississippi State? I thought it would be LSU. Frankly, I think Alabama was probably preferred Mississippi State. So, I mean, you can't argue about that, right? I mean, you can't argue with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's just, you know what? At least you're going to play everybody twice in a 4-year period, home and away. Look, guys, we got to wrap it up and say something about our sponsors. Rodney Orr, Tighter and Cider, Yancy Porter, Rebel Yell Hotline, 2 of the absolute best, like Jordan Hill and Bill Cameron. What a great show. Guys, thank you more than you know. We'll do it again next week.
Appreciate it, Rob.
You bet. All right, let's talk about it. You're going out. You need a new car, a truck, an SUV. Don't get overwhelmed. Just call Landers Ford, Memphis.com. Ask for Brad Bellamy, the general manager. Brad is a cool guy. His great-grandfather wrote the Pledge of Allegiance. This guy is a really, really cool guy. He will help you, walk you through the process. They're at Poplar and Houston Levy, and they'll deliver a vehicle anywhere. You can go online and get the process started. They've got demo priced at X-Plan pricing. They're number 4 in the country, I believe, in the sale of Expeditions. They also sell the Broncos, the Ford Escape. They've got a service department that is incredible. They will pick you up at home or at your office, provide round-trip transportation. They're open every day of the week except Sunday. The day means more than the dollar. SAG's Big and Tall store in West Memphis. That was their 100 years in business motto. So get out there, make it easy on yourself. Hey, right down the street from our good friends at Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. I was out there yesterday. Holy cow, the FedEx and the UPS guys are coming in, boxes and boxes and boxes. Women's, they got these earrings in there, polymer clay that J.M. Huffman's mom makes, and she played softball at LSU. Cool, great-looking earrings. The boots, the men's and women's boots, and the kids' boots. Nobody has a selection of quality boots like they do. I mean, you can't. I saw some made out of eel yesterday. They were so good looking and so shiny. It looked like gold or a diamond. And they've got the Filson luggage, everything you want. STS, Pendleton, Schaefer. And they still got a 50% off rack. And these Duckhead polos, I'm wearing one right here, this red and blue stripe one. Open every day of the week at Hewlett & Dunn except Sundays, HewlettandDunn.com. How you fight is how you live. Put those Dukes up, man, and fight. Look, they do classes every day of the week starting at 5:30 in the morning. 48 punching bags and the weights, and they last 45 minutes, the classes. You'll be in the best shape of your life. Union and McLean, Midtown Memphis. And the Lights Out Gummies, people, 25% off. Use code SIDELINES at checkout. They've got the pain lotions. They work. The Eggman is telling me he put some on his neck. He goes, the pain went away. It's absolutely amazing. They work. You know what? Obviously, you're working with your doctor, like a great one, like at Andrews Orthopedic. But they have the energy gummies, the chill gummies, and the lights out when you're ready to go to sleep. Take them about 30 minutes before you go to bed. Look, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Find ways to get out and help people. Find excuses to win. And watch this channel, Scarborough Knows, Buddy Martin Show, everything. We're all here, the best channel out there. See you tomorrow. See you tonight.